herd immunity against COVID-19. The world is in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic. As WHO and partners work together on the response, tracking the pandemic, advising on critical interventions, distributing vital medical supplies to those in need, they are racing to develop and deploy safe and effective vaccines. Vaccines save millions of lives each year. Vaccines work by training and preparing the body's natural defenses, the immune system, to recognize and fight off the viruses and bacteria they target. If the body is exposed to those disease causing germs later, the body is immediately ready to destroy them, preventing illness. It is more than a year since the coronavirus first emerged, yet the vast majority of people are still vulnerable to the virus. The restrictions on our lives are the only thing holding the virus in check, as they reduce opportunities for the virus to spread. Vaccines teach our bodies to fight the infection and are the exit strategy from the pandemic. The worldwide endeavor to create a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine is bearing fruit. A handful of vaccines now have been authorized around the globe. Many more remain in development. The biggest vaccination campaign in history is underway. More than 143 crores doses worldwide have been administered as on 15th May 2021, that is till yesterday. Over 34.6 crores are fully vaccinated as on 15th May 2021, those who have already received either the 2 doses or the single dose of those vaccine which are only for the single dose. India launched its vaccination drive against COVID-19 on January 16, 2021. According to health officials, India has administered 18 crores 4,57,579 vaccines till yesterday, that is on 15th May 2021. And this figure is of yesterday, but if we will see the day before yesterday figure, that is of 14th May, it was 17 crores 92 lakhs 98,584. So approximately 11 lakhs vaccine have been administered yesterday in India. Now let me introduce our guest. Today we are to discuss this very, very important topic, vaccine confusion. We have a very, very elite authority, knowledgeable medical profession doctors of who are knowing the facts about the vaccines, and they will be there to express their views. So I would like to first introduce all the 3 guests, and then I will be putting simple questions to them and they will answer, which I am sure will remove the confusion which we are having today. So the first guest I would like to introduce is Dr. Rajan Sharma. Dr. Rajan Sharma is the immediate past National President, Indian Medical Association. He has 7 international publications. Dr. Sharma is Paul Harris Rotarian. He was Rotary Medical Mission Director to Rwanda, Gabon, Cameroon, and Zimbabwe, etc. He played a very important role during COVID-19 pandemic. He was the main person who got the National Epidemic Act amended to include violence against healthcare workers and establishments, inclusion of healthcare establishments under MSME, drafting clinical guidelines for medical professionals, and infrastructure development of IMA House, Delhi. And Dr. Sharma is quite vocal, putting all his views, black and white, whatsoever is correct, and sending and making it public. So he's not hiding anything right, or whatsoever the right thing he wants to put in the domain of public. My second guest I would like to introduce is Dr. P.S. Indu. Dr. P.S. Indu is MBBS, MD, DPM, DPS, DNB, MPhil, Clinical Epidemiology, PhD. Dr. P.S. Indu is Professor and Head Department of Community Medicine, Government Medical College, Thrissur. She was the State PEID Cell Coordinator, that is Prevention of Epidemic and Infectious Disease Cell, member of State Rapid Response Team, State Task Force for COVID Vaccination, State Advisory Group on Immunization, and State AEFI, that is Adverse Events Following Immunization Committee. She has done research fellowship from University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia. She has developed and validated primary care screening questionnaire for depression PSQ4D, a simple 4-item depression screening tool, which was published in the British Journal of Psychiatry. Her PhD work was on development of community-based intervention for managing women with depression in primary care. Some of her recent research work are Government of Kerala, WHO Dengue Study 2017 to 20, ICMR Task Force Multi-Centric Study on consumption pattern of food and food products, items high in fat, salt, and sugar among selected cities, towns, and rural population of India, and development and effectiveness of school-based intervention programs to manage emotional and behavioral problem of adolescent school students. Research grant awarded by Department of Health Research, Government of India. Now, the third guest who will be participating today is Dr. Rajiv Jayadevan. Dr. Rajiv is MD MRCP, is the Vice Chairman of Kerala State IMA Research Cell and Epidemic Control Cell. He did MD General Medicine from Christian Medical College, CMC, Vellore, India in 1995. He won the Madras University Dr. MGR Gold Medal in MD General Medicine. He was awarded MRCP UK at Edinburgh in 1996. He underwent training in clinical epidemiology and public health at Erasmus University, Rotterdam, Netherlands. He obtained board certificates in medicine and gastroenterology fellowship from New York Medical College and spent 3 years in the UK and 10 years in the US before returning to his hometown of Ernakulam, Kerala. He is a gastroenterologist, a grassroots level social worker, public educator, researcher, mentor, writer, author, and speaker. In his spare time, he volunteers to teach in his school on assorted health topics directly interacting with students of all ages. He writes on complex health matters and regularly appears on TV and radio. He has written detailed analytical articles on over 70 assorted health-related topics. His book, Think Like a Doctor, has just been released. He championed several social causes, including prevention of road accidents, noise pollution, teen alcoholism, and tobacco use. Dr. Rajiv Jayadevan was the president of IMA Cochin from 2019 to 2020. He has started several new initiatives as president of IMA Cochin, including the JCP IMA, Journal of Clinical Practice for Doctors, the IMA Job Bank for Doctors, Doctors Welfare Wings, etc. He was adjusted the best IMA branch president in Kerala. He has been the Kerala State IMA convener for communication skills training for teachers for the past 5 years. During the pandemic, he has written several articles for doctors, policymakers, and the general public, and has taken an active role in educating the public on the topic. He is the convener of Communication Skills Training and Scientific Committee, Kerala State IMA. Now, my first question goes to Dr. Rajan Sharma. Dr. Rajan Sharma, what is the confusion? First 4 weeks, then 6 weeks, then 12 weeks. Government says initially 4 weeks, then 6 weeks and 12 weeks, the gap between 2 jabs. Then they opened from 18 to 44 years, but many of the states have closed. So lots of confusion going on. Earlier, there was a waiting for 30 minutes, but many places, the media report says that nobody is now allowing anybody to stay, and they ask them to go immediately. Then the government came out on record day before yesterday that 200 crore doses by the year end government will have. But Dr. N.K. Arora, chairman of India's Technical Advisor Group on COVID-19 vaccination, says yesterday on the TV channel, no vaccines are available anywhere in the world. Now, lots of confusion are going on. We would like to know what is the reality. Dr. Rajan Sharma, please. Please unmute. Dr. Sharma, please unmute. Please unmute, Dr. Sharma. We can't hear you. Dr. Sharma, please unmute.
There is no confusion, Dr. Lal. First of all, good morning to everybody. There is no confusion at all. We always come up with the populistic and short-term strategies. The ground reality is all the centers are closed. Portal opens only for 5 minutes. In many places, when the people go, they don't get the portal. When they go, they say, no, the vaccine is finished. So where is the confusion? Didn't our planners realize for a nation of 130 crore people, we have to go in a staggered and a planned way? Despite the best of efforts, last year as President IMA, I had offered we are at we offer our services free of cost to participate in your vaccination campaign. But everything is centralized. Now, once you have created a vaccine, now you say, okay, by September, I think they say we will be having more than 30 crores. Since last year, Serum Institute had been demanding, please talk to the US government. We need vital ingredients and glass vials, which are a patent technology thing. But again, it was a silence. So, sir, in my view, in this debate, there is no confusion. And there is nothing, okay, there is something. And okay, fine, now suddenly the focus has shifted to black fungus. Again, everybody is advising doctors be aware of the black fungus. I want to ask a very moot question. Who told them about black fungus? Everything they know. We have wasted so many years. Rest of the nitty-gritty, Dr. Hindu is there. Rajiv is a well-read scholar. I am an orthopedic surgeon. But the fact remains, blunder. And today you are talking of vaccination. We are still struggling with drugs and oxygen. Don't talk of the third wave. We are seeing devastating things on the second wave. That is a more important thing. Battle fatigue amongst us has set in. Today, people are doctors are resigning, going home. We might be able to do so things. To stem the rot, ventilators, now central audit has been started. I don't know when it will come. And what is the transparency in distribution of the aid which is coming to the states? Does anybody know? Suddenly, 4 days ago, they said we are doing genome sequencing. Whereas I have been demanding it since so many times. Where is the CDC? Yesterday's article in Telegraph, if you see, there were institutions created. Serum Institute was created in Kasauli. There is a central disease control. If you talk to them, they have not even been consulted. It is not that we don't have planners and thinkers. We have planners and thinkers who are working in every country. But then everything was a rosy picture. Rest I don't have to say anything. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for giving a very forthright opening remarks of yours. Definitely, I will be coming back to you again because so many questions are there. My question goes to Dr. P.S. Hindu. Again, the same question. What is the confusion? Why so much confusion, Dr. Hindu? Can you just explain?
Since the beginning of the pandemic, since the first case was reported in China till today, if we look at the pattern of cases, what's going to the epidemic curve globally, we have the highest number of cases, the highest number of deaths across the world. And 50% of these cases, if we go to the epidemiology report of the World Health Organization, it's from India. And 1/3 of the deaths also happen in India. India faces an unforeseen surge no other country has gone through. It's not only in the total number of cases. Of course, US has higher, but in terms of the surge, ours is the highest. But we need solutions. It's true that there are several reasons for this huge surge that India is facing. As Dr. Rajan Sharma was mentioning, one of the reasons might be the genomic, the variations, the mutations the virus is undergoing. It spreads very fast. The crowds, the the mass social distancing, the public health and social measures, lack of compliance to the public health and social. The reasons might be varying, but we need interventions, immediate interventions, long-term interventions, and some measures which are really urgent. If we go through the urgent, as we all know, it's in terms of escalating the tertiary care services, the critical care beds, oxygen, etc. But I think in today's discussion, we'll focus more on vaccines. But before coming to what the vaccine related areas, let me also tell that till a large proportion of Indian population gets vaccinated, we will have to stick on to the public health and social measures, because the spread now happens indoors with genetic mutations to the virus, the transmissibility, the speed of spread, the growth rate has gone up. So it's really important that even indoors we wear masks. That's really needed because we have to interrupt the transmission. There are restrictions, mobility restrictions that's happening in several states. I'm from Kerala. I'm speaking from Kerala. Actually, there's a lockdown that's happening in Kerala. I think a few other states also have so those kinds of restrictions to restrict mobility and other social interventions in parallel, so that other measures of people who are, who have restrained mobility, like their routine social needs, all those have to be taken care of. So interruption of transmission is an immediate need, and definitely in the long run, the world is going to see the end of pandemic through the scientific method of vaccination. Vaccines are really important. As you said, we started off with the vaccination on January 7th, 16th this year, nearly 5 months through. The larger population is yet to be vaccinated, but we need to vaccinate them, because the genetic mutations do happen as long as, because it's an RNA virus, as long as the virus gets an opportunity to transmit among ourselves. So the final answer to interrupt the transmission is going to come from vaccines across the world. When I say across the world, there are no geographic boundaries between countries, between states, between districts. It is every human being inhabiting the earth. Vaccine equity is hence a major issue. So India has to vaccinate majority of its population. Every other country has to vaccinate majority of the population. And here comes other logistics issues. The capabilities of individual countries to produce vaccines, systems in place to distribute vaccines, equity, the ability of people to pay, how much each country can afford to provide vaccines to its citizens. So it's all several issues, including capability of production. Of course, there are other, like, the vaccine hesitancy and other issues. I think to begin with, it was there, right? It was more, but now I think when people try to understand more, and because of these surges, I think the vaccine hesitancy issue has come down. If there is time, I think I'll come back to some of these questions in later part of the discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Thank you very much, Dr. Indu, for giving your opening remarks. And now I would like to ask the same thing to Dr. Rajiv Jayadeva. What is the confusion?
Goelji, talking about confusion, let me ask you, there are four of us talking on this panel, Dr. Rajan Sharma, you, Dr. Indu, and myself. Imagine that the four of us were sitting in a room in a building that caught fire and smoke was rising in our room. Do you think we'll survive by social distancing, by keeping 2 foot or 1 meter distance between each other and stay in the room? No. You gotta get out of the building, jump out of the window, and escape. You got to go to the open air. That is a confusion. The virus spreads inside a room exactly like smoke. What is the confusion? The confusion is when we tell people that you can sit inside a room and if there's an empty chair next to you, you're safe. That is the confusion. That is a fundamental flaw in the worldwide education about the pandemic. This is an indoor virus. Of the 2,400 super spreading events documented in the world, 2,400 are indoor events. We fail to see that. We fail to communicate that. The common man thinks if you can put your hand, you can keep the virus away. That is absolutely wrong, unscientific. As Dr. Rajan Sharma and Dr. Indu said, the virus spreads through the air. And if you're trapped in a room with people, you will pick up the infection. There is no confusion about that. Now, Dr. Rajan Sharma was my president when I was president in the Cochin branch. He was a national president, most dynamic leader. Let me give you an example of how committed he is. He called me personally long before the pandemic to talk about something we started here as a stress line for healthcare workers. Our branch in Cochin, we have a dedicated stress helpline for doctors. He called and said, Rajiv, can the country copy your model? That is commitment. And yesterday, the reason why I raised this topic is, Goelji, yesterday, I got a distress call from the head of pulmonary medicine in one of the large medical centers in Kerala. That doctor said, nurses and doctors are breaking down. Can you give me that helpline again so that I can give them some relief? This is the reality in India. Healthcare workers are on the verge of collapse. Healthcare workers are not a machine that can function endlessly. They sit inside sweaty suits, behind masks. They're not able to see their patients or their families, and they're struggling with people who are dying under their care, and they have very little to offer. As Dr. Indu said, let's come back to vaccination. We need to see the big picture. Why are people dying? The answer is very, very simple. Because the human body has never seen this virus before. And how do you get the human body to recognize this virus? Simple. Give them a vaccine. Any vaccine is good. There are about 8 or 10 vaccines that are given to millions of people around the world. Let's vaccinate our people. And that is the way out.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rajiv. And you rightly said about the breaking of the down of the doctors and nurses. I had a program of media conference. I asked the same question to one doctor. If you are treating a patient of COVID, and if you know that the disease is so much you cannot save, no problem. But if you know that this patient is going to be saved, but for want of oxygen, he is dying in front of you, how you felt? He says, when we are coming home, we are like, we want to cry like anything, because we are seeing the death occurring from our negligence. Our means the government negligence, because there is no oxygen. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv, for giving your opening remarks. Now, my question goes to Dr. Rajan Sharma. Dr. Rajan Sharma, 11 lakhs vaccine shots yesterday were giving, as per the government official figure. Approximately 11 lakhs shots were giving. While few weeks back, 42 lakhs shots were giving. Now, around 25 lakhs vaccine are manufactured every day. What is happening to the rest? Where are the rest balance 14 or 13 lakhs vaccine? Where are they going? Why we have reduced our, we are administrating 42 lakhs earlier. Now we have come down to 11 lakhs. How we are going to cover the country? And again, after 8 months or 9 months or 10 months, again, we require the next round of the doses. What do you say about that, Dr. Sharma?
My answer to that is, can a state, now they have asked for open tenders. Before that, could a state order vaccines? No?
No, no.
Very recently, a corporate house approached me. I belong to a small town. They said, sir, we have 400 people and we have got the vaccine through cold chain. As an initiative by our group, which is spread across India, we have vaccines for everybody. I am not getting a vaccine. They have it in plenty. Can somebody answer that question? Why today we are talking again, things come back. Why no stress was given to last year preparing the paramedical staff for ventilator trainings? First they were defective, okay, fine. Let's forget it and go ahead. Today we are getting so many. Do you have any person? I don't know how to operate a ventilator. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. See, brushing under the carpet has become the major issue today. Every person in mohalla, clinics, everywhere, they are asking for oxygen and vaccine. We have sold that initiative. I always used to say, if Rajiv will remember, that please don't sell the logic of RT-PCR. You will never be able to test the entire population. But no, RT-PCR is the initiative. This is there, this is there, this is there. Now it took 1 year for them to say CT scan is not required. You just imagine, we are sitting on the net, we have facilities to the net. What things are coming on the WhatsApp university? There are gurus who are saying, these doctors, there is no need for remdesivir, there is no need for tocilizumab. Oxygen is there in the air, you just do holom. Okay, fine, take over the healthcare. But there is a no denial from the government that don't resort to such measures. Why we are seeing such a high number is because mild cases sitting at home are resorting to these measures. They neglect their symptoms. These things will matter. You go into their sales. You go into their turnover. And then they turn up in hospitals. Last week in Delhi, what we saw, every hospital was taking an affidavit that if oxygen goes out, we will not be held responsible. So vaccination, if we have done it, I think Sputnik has arrived. I pray to God, but then also we have an example in Australia. I called up my friends who are many GPs there. I said, have you got vaccinated? He said, no. I said, why? He said, we are not on the priority list. We don't need it. And they are leading a normal life without masks. Same is true for America. My sister-in-law had just gone 1 week back and she was roaming around with a mask, without a mask. I immediately called her up. I said, where is your mask? And you don't need it. So that sort of initiative, again I come back. You said the solution. Please, for God's sake, hand over this to the planners. We have the world's best brains. Anthony Fauci has served 7 presidents of USA. And here we have never ever called a meeting of CDC. ICMR is a Indian Council of Medical Research, not epidemiological research, sir. It takes feedbacks, does medical research, that's it. Please now, whatever is gone is gone. We are not here, we are, as a country, we are one. But get your house in order again. Don't make it political. And the amount of money which is spent on advertisements, I'll say again, give it to vaccination. Give it to creating infrastructure in villages. Villages don't even have beds. Horrifying episodes. Vaccine, I am very sorry, but the vaccine is an issue. We need to vaccinate all, as Dr. Hindu said, Rajiv said, we need to vaccinate all. But today we know the ground reality is we cannot vaccinate till the year end. There is no production. When people approached, we waited for our own indigenous vaccine to come. India has been a world market leader. At what point of time will we realize, open the patent? After that, this is not a one-time feature. It is going to stay long. And you will need a booster dose. Then make it all. But today the country is in distress. Ask a family who has lost.
Yes. Yes, Dr. Sharma, yes, you made a very correct thing. Those who have lost their near and dear, they know what is pain. Now, my question goes to Dr. Indu. Dr. Indu, there had been frequent changes in time interval between doses. Is it determined by science? Have you come across publications suggesting these changes? Or because earlier they says that the UK government has increased for 3 months, so now so we are also giving for 3 months. But the day before yesterday, there was a statement from the Prime Minister of UK, and he says we are reducing it to 2 months now. So will India will also reduce to 2 months? Or what is the scientific reason of this gap? Now, I took vaccine after 28 days. Now I am feeling cheated. I feel that I have been cheated. That I have been given. I'm not been immunized properly because I got it 28 days, while that I should have got after 3 months, as per the new reports. But I want to know from you: is it a scientific or some research has been done, or it is just a political thing because we don't have the vaccine, so we just want to buy the time, and we are increasing the between that gap between two.
Dr. Lal, of course, there is scientific and research evidence on what should be the ideal time interval between two doses of the vaccine. The two vaccines that are being given in India are, one is Covishield and the second is Covaxin. Now Sputnik also has been introduced. Covishield, which was developed by the Oxford University along with the AstraZeneca company. That is our Indian version is the Covishield. So it's actually a viral vector vaccine. What it does is the vector is the chimpanzee adenovirus, something a virus. It's not human. It's a chimpanzee virus. It's attenuated. It does not multiply in human body. It just acts as a carrier to introduce the information into the cell so that our cells produces the spike protein. Then the spike protein is introduced into the surface of the cell. We call it the antigen presenting, and the our body produces antibodies. That is Covishield. All the initial trials were at 28 days interval, and the results on the efficacy were based on the time gap of 28 days between the two doses. With that information, we started off. Not only us, UK, many other countries started off. In parallel, research had been happening. The research, actually there are several research which is on 12th May, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, Lancet published another trial on the heterologous. First dose is Covishield and second some other vaccine. So all these researches are going on. So it is, there is a research evidence. Actually, there are several studies to quote one or two. One 12-week gap has the maximum antibodies. That is there is a meta-analysis of 4 randomized controlled trials and the later heterologous also. It also looked at the reactogenicity. To cut short these studies, let me just tell that all of us, all the healthcare workers in India, to begin with, took the vaccine at a gap of 4 weeks, 28 days. Now we have evidence that the gap has to be still higher so that the efficacy is higher. For example, see, if it is 12 weeks, it goes to 80% and above. Not only trials. Now we have real field data because people all over the world has been given Covishield or AstraZeneca. So all such studies have shown, and there are several countries, including UK, Ireland and all, which have larger gap. So there the efficacy is higher than our initial trial, which was 28 days. So it is true and scientific that the gap is higher, more than 28 days.
Okay.
So it is 12 weeks. So but in addition, there are 2 other practical points in it. See, instead of giving 2 doses to a lesser proportion of people, if we can give single dose to a larger number, that may be some of the practical reasons why other countries have resorted to that kind of a policy to begin with. So actually, we need solution, Mr. Lal. I think India is a huge country. We are talking about a large population. And all these are practical issues. We need scientific rationale for our decisions. We need to understand epidemiologically what is the current status of the wave and what are the immediate priorities. It's also important in the long run. I think I'll come back to a few other issues in your next.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Indu. Now my question to Dr. Rajiv. Dr. Rajiv, my memory says that smallpox, BCG, polio, DPT, all vaccines were provided free of charge by the government to all of us, at least from that time. Now, what has changed? Why now the government is charging money nowadays? What is the reason for charging the money when at that time also the smallpox, everyone was provided free of charge, BCG, polio, then why now you are charging the money for this vaccine? Dr. Rajiv.
It's a very good question, very deep question. That question encompasses several topics, including medical ethics. We've got virology, we've got immunology, we've got economics, national policy. There are so many aspects to that question, and also law. Now, I'm no expert in law or intellectual property or anything outside of science, but with my limited knowledge, I'll answer that question as follows. Vaccines have historically been provided free for all citizens. That's the truth. But there are also vaccines that are available for purchase. For example, if I got bitten by a dog, I have the option of going to the government hospital and getting the vaccine free of cost, or I can ask the local pharmacist for a paid supply of rabies vaccine. Now, in terms of our vaccination drive, we must remember that India's or the world's vaccination drive is primarily to vaccinate children. And children form only a subset of our population. And then there is vaccination for pregnant women. Adult vaccination is there, but it is not a large percentage. But suddenly this virus has landed in our lab, and we are now talking about vaccinating the entire adult population to start with, and maybe children later on. So suddenly you're having to drive a very large amount of traffic through our limited roads. So there will be some adjustments that will need to be made. Some rules will have to be rewritten. That's the way I see it. I take a very practical standpoint. I'm not very dogmatic about this. My wish as a doctor treating patients from the grassroots level with experience in about 4 or 5 Western nations, I'll say this. The faster we vaccinate, the better. I'm no economist. All I want is for the people to get the vaccine. Now, to answer a point that Dr. Indu raised, I'll say this. I said the virus landed in our lab. Now, let's go back to a couple of fundamentals here. The virus never came with an instruction manual. That manual is being written, and it's being written page by page every day as we speak. So I think we must give ourselves a little bit of breathing room in terms of what we believe, in terms of gaps and vaccination gaps and so on. We just have to trust the people who take these decisions. So rather than blindly question their judgment each time, I think we must decide that we will trust the people who are deciding these vaccine gaps for us, because they are doing it in the best interest of the nation. That's one. The second thing is the human body itself did not come with an instruction manual. I would say maybe it's about 10% complete, maybe 90% we do not know about the human body, specifically about immunology. The subject I've spent the most time in my life reading is immunology. I'm still reading about it, including today. But there is so much that we don't know about immunology. So you put the two unknowns together, you see the level of uncertainty is quite high. One of the things I always say in my science lectures is the most important thing in science is to respect what is not known. The problem comes when you assume you know everything. If you assume you know everything, you are inviting disaster. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rajiv. So now the question comes, who knows everything or who doesn't know? My question goes to Dr. Rajan Sharma. A cardiologist or a pediatrician can handle According to you, the biggest community medicine problem faced by the country, where are the real experts? I think you understand what I'm saying.
That's what I said. I have already answered your question. You that I have already answered your question.
No,
That
but
now
yes,
that
please.
question becomes redundant. But yes, listening to Dr. Indu and Rajiv, I'm not a vaccine or an immunology expert. For your kind information, I got myself a second dose of co-vaccine after 8 weeks. And if you see, the wisdom was a time gap between vaccination. Why British model is often quoted, and USA also. They started immediately giving first dose when they started seeing the disease. Now, why they have reduced the protocol is because now they are in a comfortable position. And it was all epidemiological and logistical scientific. It is not that they didn't have this rational. It was a rational. We should have gone that way. The British model was followed. Now the second dose was reserved. That was lack of foresight. But now what can we say?
That's true. But now my question again to you is, you are heading till short time ago the largest professional organization of medical expert in IMA. Why IMA is not playing it like doctor has mentioned, you have mentioned the ICMA. It's a research. CDC, I was just watching one media report. They said CDC is not been given because it's situated, that headquarter is in Pune, so it's in the state run by the some opposition party. I don't want to go in that. But my point is, IMA is not a political party. It's not governed by any of the political parties. Then why IMA has not been taken in confidence? Why we are seeing in the even the district level, we are seeing the district collector is issuing what is to be taken, what is not to be taken. Now so all these things are doctors thing. We have never seen in our life that the administrator is prescribing you take a dolo or you take this medicine. It's always been given by the doctors after seeing our condition. So why what IMA is doing, Dr. Sharma?
IMA was the first body. Again, I'll come back to my tenure when Epidemiological Act was passed. I specially requested that IMA president has to be a member of every district task force, which was implemented across the board. We are here also. IMA is taken into confidence because of the fact that without them, they are not functioning. 70% of the healthcare across the country is by private health providers. By private health providers, I mean doctors in small towns with hospitals who are taking care. The government system was always redundant. They suddenly empowered. I often quote a example: three to four people, God, Godmen, and doctors, may not have the solution to everybody, but they are the biggest opium to the general public. The biggest mistake which was done was they made us sit home, that you will not practice. Private sector. So that is why the lack of healthcare was there. Then they decided what it has been done. Now, okay, fine. Imagine a scenario when this cut off the 70% scenario, population of private doctors. And where are you? You have all the restrictions for us. You will give 4 doses of remdesivir, 3 doses of remdesivir. You will give how much oxygen you are taking. We need oxygen audit. As if I am lack of oxygen and I am having a nozzle across my nose. So that is again comes to the point. Hand it over to people who are already there. They are waiting. They have written. CDC had written last year. I was in touch with so many of our planners and other people. He said, Rajan, what can I do? Our recommendations are not answered. We are not called and we have not been empowered. So the power is given or somewhere else. So the answer is always there. But again, at the end, I would like to ask just one point. Can anybody please stand up and accept his blame? Yes, I faltered. इतनी हिंदी सारे समझ लेंगे कि मेरे से गलती हो गई. Now let's move the road ahead. But here the attitude is we know everything. That's it.
Okay, okay, thank you, Dr. Sharma. Dr. Indu, there was a report in the Lancet that this virus is airborne, and there were lots of confusion. Again, people say no, it's not airborne; it's the droplets and whatnot. Can you just clarify? Because you, when we started the program before that, I asked you whether you are going to wear you are doing a program from office or from home. You said home. I said then you are going to wear this mask throughout. You said yes. And you told me that because you are working outside, you are coming to home, so you have to wear the mask. But there is nobody is clear about that. What is the reality? Because again, somebody from the government side is speaking, but we really wants to know the medical, that those who really knows, the experts, they should explain whether we should wear mask at our home or not. Dr. Indu, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal. That's a wonderful question.
The question is whether we should wear the mask. Is it an airborne disease or not? If the virus is airborne or not? Or and due to that, shall we wear the mask throughout at our home or not?
Mr. Lal, the thread of the today's discussion is vaccine. Ultimate answer for India is going to be the vaccines. India is a country which vaccinates 29 million antenatal women and 26 million newborns every year. So our capabilities are huge. Taking cues from Dr. Rajiv, right? There may be other policy decisions like intellectual property rights, patent, permitting other companies to manufacture. Whatever ways we have to produce vaccines, we need vaccines. Get vaccines somehow, and ultimately vaccinate a vast majority of our population to find an end to this pandemic. That being the ultimate solution, what we need today, but that will take some time. So a lot of planning there's no doubt about it. That's the ultimate answer. But today, what is required is none of us should none of us should add to the already existing pool of positive cases. The virus spreads very fast. Mutation is contributing to it, but the numbers are so huge. It spreads indoors. To begin with, we thought that large droplets, it means more than 100 microns, are spreading it. So we thought, just a distance of 6 feet or 2 meters is enough. We thought it's okay to wear masks outside. We thought it's okay to avoid crowding. All these stand relevant even today. But now we know there is something called a far-end transmission. Even if the person is not there, because of the aerosol, because of smaller particles, 5 microns or less, that can remain in the atmosphere, and some of the microbiology studies show that for 1 hour up to 3 hours, the half-life is just 1 hour. It can remain there. So if it's in a public place, inside home, someone who is positive, spreading the virus is there, the virus can infect us even if we reach that place at a later stage. I mean, after some time, it may not be as highly infectious as maybe chickenpox and all, but the possibility is there. Hence, this becomes really important because 30 to 59% of transmission happens from asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic cases. The person does not have a symptom. He is just like any one of us. He is there in our home. He stays or she stays along with us in our home. He may become positive. He may not become positive and symptomatic at all. That kind of spread happens. So it is really important that especially those who go for work outside. When they come back, they must be wearing masks. As far as possible, avoid, now lockdown, it's lockdown in many states. So people are staying indoors. They're not going out for work. But transmission happens indoors. So wear mask. Wear, double mask. Surgical mask inside. I don't have, yeah, this is the surgical mask that we get from the medical store. This inside, and then a cloth mask outside. I am wearing an N95 now. Lot of patients are at home. For example, in Kerala, we have more than 4 lakhs people positive. Majority of them are in domiciliary treatment. They are getting connected to a healthcare worker. Actually, all our healthcare workers, the junior public health nurses, junior health inspectors, volunteers, the local self-government members, everyone is doing a wonderful work in monitoring these patients at home. So there is somebody who is taking care of a sick patient at home. They should wear an N95 so that others in the home are not infected. So even if we don't have a symptomatic at home, please wear a mask. Till all of us are going to be vaccinated, the virus is with us. So once the transmission comes down, we can afford to remove masks. Some countries might have reached. You quoted Australia. People quote CDC. It's encouraging people to take vaccine also. We have never reached that stage. Virus is with us. It transmits indoors. Please wear masks. Please avoid crowds. So it is really important. There are several, Lancet papers. There is a JAMA paper. There are several papers which quotes why there is evidence. So several evidence. Animal studies. 2 animals in separate cages connected by ducts. Even within the Japanese ship, through the ducts, it might have been transmitting. That is all there, but with genetic mutation, with our V4NEWS, it has 3 sublineages, 1, 2, and 3. Actually, 1 and 2, there is moderate evidence that the growth rate is higher. So it is spreading much faster than the earlier versions of the virus. So with asymptomatic spread, people with no symptoms spreading, with farther end spreading, and with the very high transmission, the test positivity rate, it's about 25 in several states. So with very high test positivity rate, it's really important that we interrupt transmission through immediate measures by protecting ourselves by wearing masks. Always keep the doors and windows of the rooms, offices open. Whenever we enter a room, make sure that we keep all the doors and windows open. Air movement, causes dilution. Otherwise, structural changes by, 4 to 6 air changes per hour can be introduced. But in countries like India, we cannot, enforce such things all of a sudden. What is possible is that, try to avoid air conditioners. When you're traveling also, don't, keep the windows of the car open. In all buildings, keep windows and doors open wherever people are working, because some of the offices, many of the offices, especially emergency services, have to continue. People have to continue working. So it's important that we wear 2 masks, the surgical inside and the cloth outside.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Indu. Dr. Indu, you have clarified lots of doubts, because we all have the doubts about this thing. Now my question goes to Dr. Rajiv. Companies are allowed to fix MRP of rupees 600 and 1200 for each dose, even though they were making profit, and it was on record. Mr. Adhar Poonawala has mentioned on one of the TV program that I am making profit even for 150 rupees per dose. Is our country is governed by the government or by private profiting companies? Because 150 he was making profit. Now basic economics says that if you are purchasing something 100, you are making profit. If you are manufacturing 1 lakh, definitely the profit will increase, not decrease. If the quantity will increase, the profit will increase. How come now we are purchasing more and he is asking more money? What is the logic, Dr. Rajiv?
My expertise, Mr. Goel, is in the science of vaccines. This question is beyond my knowledge, and I'm in no position to answer that.
No, but you are working in a very social thing. You know the condition in the country. After all, we are not a rich country to pay. And one more thing, if you have, I will just say one thing. As per the, as per, I will just tell you, there is a, complete report. As per the agreement, Oxford University, AstraZeneca can be sold only for $3 till pandemic last all over the world. Only after pandemic is over, company can charge higher price from developed countries, not from the developing countries. We are a developing country. How come they are allowing to sell in India for more than $4 to state and more than $8 per dose from private hospitals? It is against I think that comes under the ethical things when, or I don't know about the legal, but when it was decided, and we are a developing country, we are not developed country. Why we are paying more? That is my question.
Yeah, there is no disagreement among doctors that vaccines must be provided free to all citizens. There is no disagreement. As to the means to achieve that end, I do not know. As I said, this question should be taken up by someone who handles economics and policy decisions.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Rajiv. Thank you. Now, my question to Dr. Sharma. Dr. Sharma, we are fortunate that health minister of the country is a practicing doctor. However, it seems that he is not inspiring confidence amongst the medical community. Why? After all, he is also a medical practitioner doctor. He is our health minister, and he is not giving that much weightage to, like you have mentioned about that IMA has mentioned many things, but they are not listening. Why, when the health minister himself is a doctor?
Dr. Lal, let me first clarify. He's not a practicing doctor anymore.
Okay.
He left. He's a full-time politician now. So that should answer your question. Regarding advice given and not following, this question, it is best if you put it to him. Because we have given advice. Tomorrow, Dr. Indu is sent me advice. Rajiv sent me advice. Either I deny or write him, I don't agree with you. But here, when there is no reply, I cannot force him to agree to my suggestions. So that is there. And Dr. Indu, let me tell you, you were discussing about double masking. For healthcare professionals, ma'am, it is very nice. But you just understand the logistics of the entire country. Nobody is going out to buy masks. The ladies in our part of the country are using their dupattas. The Sikh population are using very big handkerchiefs. Other people are also using it because after wearing 3M and N95 masks, in these 3-ply masks and all, you feel suffocated also. And if you are sitting alone in the indoors, yes, a window should be open. These are there. But when one of my employees, he got positive. So I told him, the civil hospital team came, he said, isolate. So he called me up, he said, sir, they're telling me to isolate. There is no bed in the hospital. What should I do? I said, you should isolate, sir. He said, I have a wife, 2 grandchildren, my son and my daughter-in-law. And we have only 2 rooms. So where should I isolate myself? Luckily, it was summer. I said, shift to the roof. We shifted to the roof. And this is why now the fear has set in so much. In UP, people are not coming out of their house. You can see gates being wired and all. So these problems are there. But yes, I am seeing a marked difference than last time with people masking. Another thing, just sitting indoors and not going out is not bringing them livelihood. And you just imagine, we might be lucky that we are living in good houses which has a lawn or some open space. But just imagine in a 1 or 2 bedroom flat, you are confined since the last 1 year. There is a psychotic feeling which has come in. Some people even have been confessing to me, it is better to die rather not to live at all. Yes, we left our guard now. It is only when the norms were eased. You are allowed 500 weddings. Now, who's there to check when you know the infrastructure is such? You cannot enforce norms. Tomorrow, I am inviting 400 people. I have taken permission for 300 people. Nobody will come to check. What to talk of doctors, nurses, healthcare staff, even the police, the cremation ground people, they are fatigued. When you see so much of around, you have, like yesterday morning when I got up, I read 6 very senior doctors from Delhi died even after vaccination. Last 1 year, I started this IMA martyrs list. Every day morning to write such condolence messages when I could see them dying like anything. It made me mentally sick. That why are my colleagues dying so much when it is going to come to me? So these things which nobody understands. And practical approach, scientific approach is the only way to save ourselves. What we see today is, I have huge respect for Ayurveda. Okay, fine. But please, anything which is said has to be authenticated or denied by the government. Last year when Coronel was launched, Rajiv will remember, I firmly blasted it. But by the time the government could say anything, he had already made a huge business. So this is a huge business by empires. But why is it not saving us? Why are our hospitals full? And has anybody of our VIPs taken this treatment? If they have taken, why have they ended up in hospitals? You want the best facility for yourself. And the cattle class has to die wherever it has to die. Tell me of one VIP who has suffered oxygen, lack of oxygen or remdesivir or tocilizumab.
Yes, Dr. Sharma, you rightly said no VIP. They still have we get the bed, they will get the oxygen, they will get the remdesivir, everything they will get. But the cattle class, as you rightly mentioned, they are. Now my question goes to Dr. Indu. Dr. Indu, you being in the committee of adverse event. Now my question to you is, this related to the vaccine only. Neither the COVID portal nor the feedback text message has a provision for adverse event reporting. Is it the reason that there are no major adverse events reported in India, unlike other countries? Dr. Indu, please.
COVID portal has provision to record adverse events when the patient, not the patient, the recipient of the vaccine is within the system, which is 30 minutes after vaccination. And later it is through the AFI portal. Actually, as we discussed earlier, India has the largest number of immunization sessions that's going on for antenatal women and children. So there is AFI monitoring system. It has a portal. It's an event portal. Actually, COVID is attached to the event, so it is linked to it. And every state, there is an AFI committee which looks at the data, and there are epidemiologists, pediatricians, infectious disease specialists, microbiologists in the committee. At the district level, it is taken care of by the RCH officers. Who is in charge of the immunization. So that is the current mechanism to monitor the adverse immunization. I think I'll also just continue Dr. Rajan Sharma's discussion and your query on the social issues, which are really important. Social issues in the context of like poverty continues to be the biggest public health challenge. So when people are at home, their livelihood needs to be taken care of. I think there are social, challenges which need to be addressed. For example, I just quote a few examples from the local self-government. India, actually, the level of capabilities and the role the local self-government plays and the pandemic is different. In Kerala recently, since the lockdowns have come up, community kitchens have been started to provide food. So earlier you mentioned about the role of collectors. Actually, collectors' role is coordinating all these. It's not only the health that is important. For example, oxygen availability, transport. So several, the machinery involves several departments and sectors. That is why, as the head and executive magistrate, with Disaster Act implementation, and the collectors do have an important role. So that is the role the district administration plays. So several important sectors, especially social sectors, have an important role, and that's why the implementation, the actual implementation of social mobility restrictions will succeed only if such parallel measures are taken care of in the social sector. So health alone can never. In Kerala, what's happening is that even in surveillance and follow and monitoring of these patients on domiciliary care, volunteers are being trained. The ASHA workers, as I said, the multipurpose workers, everyone is it's working in liaison. So it's not only a medical or a health department problem. It involves a unison of several departments. Just to add some of the scientific measures. So in cluster containment, so one of the points raised earlier was RT-PCR. How logical and feasible it is to implement in remote areas, because it requires a lab with facilities. Earlier also, in the last outbreak, what we used was a rapid antigen test, which is really feasible. The results are available within 20 or 30 minutes. It can be done anywhere. We can do it. I mean, mobile teams can take it to the farthermost corner, do it, declare the results and isolate people. So such a blend of science and logistics have to take place. And it may not be the same in all states. It may not be same even within the state. Regional differences, resource differences might be there. That is why we need policies which are based on science, available logistics, several public health. See, in the long.
Sorry, you have muted yourself, Dr. Indu. You have muted yourself.
Pardon?
Yes, go ahead. Now you have muted. Now you please go ahead.
Okay.
Huh.
So regarding the reinfection, because back to vaccines, Dr. Rajan Sharma mentioned about healthcare workers getting infected. So the efficacy of the vaccine varies. Moderna and Pfizer has the highest with the mRNA vaccine, 95% and above. Sputnik has 92%, and the Indian vaccines somewhere between 70, 80, that range. So the reinfections do happen even after vaccination. That's why we should continue to wear masks after vaccination. But in majority of reinfections after vaccination, the severity is less. Mortality is very, very less. So reinfections do happen. We have to accept that reinfections can happen even after vaccination. But it helps in interrupting the transmission. That's why we say, just because of few cases, not only few, because there is a big gap between 70% and 100%. We are trying to increase the gap between the first and second dose so that those who are fully vaccinated will have a higher efficacy. So, but even then there is a gap. So those cases will happen, but then we expect the severity to be less. Actually, if we analyze the ICU data from tertiary care institutions, those who are admitted to ICU after taking 2 doses is much less. It's actually very, very, it's a small number. So that is a relief. So when we talk to the public, the point is that, it protects the majority. Vaccines protect the majority. Vaccines protect us from getting severe COVID. It protects us from getting admitted because of severe COVID. And finally, it helps to reduce mortality. So the vaccine helps us in multiple ways. And most importantly, in the context of genetic mutations in the backdrop, immediately, as early as possible, we have to interrupt the transmission. And for that, the scientific answer is vaccine. So whichever policy decisions are required, let it be, encouraging public sector undertaking, like addressing the patent issue, intellectual property, lot of policy decisions at the national and international level. So we hope that such decisions will be taken as early as possible and address the vaccine, availability issue, and we are able to vaccinate majority, addressing equity also.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Indu. I will just say that Kerala, yes, Kerala is a health sector as well as the social setup is such that people always help, whether it is a flood time or whatnot we have seen. Now, my question not to Dr. Rajiv. Dr. Rajiv, I will come to you because I think Dr. Rajan has to go. Dr. Rajan Sharma, I want just to ask you one thing. Countries like UK, Israel, and now USA are opening up their economies thanks to their investment in rapid vaccination. Though we cite lack of funds, we continue to pour thousands of crores in mega projects like roads, metros, new airports, Central Vista, organizing Kumbh Mela, election rallies, Holi, etc., etc. Why don't you think it is a time to hold everything? First, invest in the vaccination, as all our panelists says, the vaccination is the only answer. After all, the jaan hai to jahan hai, baki to sab mahan hai. What you say about that, Dr. Rajan Sharma?
I have mentioned before also, if they stop giving advertisements, it will sort a lot of issues, but okay, fine. They want to continue with Central Vista, advertisements, everything they want to continue. Let's go back to our freedom struggle. When Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose said, you give me blood, I'll give you independence. Declare to the nation that you give me donations, I will give you vaccination. You will again come back. And we will have so many funds. India is no longer a poor country, sir. When ITC, Tata, and all these people are sending out planes to airlift oxygen cylinders, Kerala has risen by example. Last full 1 year, they didn't waste a day. All the medical colleges, their oxygen plants were almost tripled or capacity, and they created all PSUs to have oxygen facility, and they had a buffer stock of 70,000 cylinders. Of late, they have stopped it, but they were contributing oxygen to Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Pondicherry. And just 5 days ago, through PM CARES Fund, oxygen plant installed at AIMS and RML. And today, as I was listening to Dr. Hindu, came the news under PM CARES Fund, oxygen plant installed at Lady Harding. So where is the rot? Central Vista, you are not getting laborers, sir, now. Laborers, all migrant laborers, with again fear set in, have started going back, have gone back.
Okay.
We could have waited for some time. This is not a prime project. Parliament, anyways, Parliament is not meeting. And the biggest example is the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Health has been asking for a virtual meeting, which has been denied. All the institutions, okay, fine. Parliament is the supreme seat of democracy. If the Parliamentary Standing Committee cannot meet virtually, you tell me what infrastructure is required. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, for giving your very, very strong views. Now my question goes, thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, for taking your time, and I'm sure your views.
And Rajiv, I hope I have not ruffled feathers to any of you, but it was nice to be on a panel with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. You are as forthright as you are always. Thank you very much. Now my question goes to Dr. Rajiv. Very simple question. We are talking of vaccination. Where? Now we have made a portal. Now the portal, how you see 70% of the population is in rural area. Now, how the rural, if a villager, now this is a question, I'm sure you might be anyone, but A person who is not knows, first thing is the villager is not knowing how to use a smartphone. Even if he knows, the internet is not there. Now all those how he's going to be vaccinated? It means we are only giving vaccination, as Dr. Sharma has mentioned, we are leaving the cattle class. So are we not partial, or we are just saying that we will just save only the elite class? But according to medical experts, and I'm sure you will also, unless the 70% will not get the vaccination, we will not get the herd immunity. And the 70% means we have to take the majority of the rural area. How we will get it? So is there any solution you think that the government should do? After all, you have worked in UK, you have seen very closely in USA, you have worked there, you have seen their health systems. Where is the mistake? What is the basic thing? After all, we require vaccine. Everybody wants vaccine. Government also wants to give vaccine, but it is not reaching. Now, why? What is the solution if you want to give?
That's an excellent question that was raised several months ago by some of us doctors here, as well as some of my friends in the legal fraternity. They asked whether they should file a PIL about this decision, about asking citizens to uh, go through an internet-based registration for vaccines. It made no sense. I'll give you an example. We often refer to India in the context of pandemic, but what we fail to realize is, in a global sense, India represents a very large area of the globe. Forget the boundaries, but we are this region. Let's just talk pure science here. This region is a very, very large area that has extreme geographical and economic and cultural and social diversity. We can't put India into a box. We can't. Therefore, what is applicable in, let's say, the rural part of, let's say, Assam might, might not be applicable.
One moment, please. One moment. I think Dr. Parik, yeah. Yes, please go ahead. Sorry.
What is applicable in a rural part of Assam might not be applicable in, let's say, the urban parts of Mumbai. The strategies will have to be customized for each region. For instance, Kerala, if you take Kerala as a region, as a whole, the internet connectivity is quite high. But that still does not mean that everyone in Kerala, even with the highest internet connectivity, will be able to operate a smartphone. I live with my old parents. My mother barely knows still how to use WhatsApp. All right, so she's a retired college lecturer. All right, so she holds a postgraduate degree from BITS. No, but that is how they are. So we need to really simplify the vaccination process. That is something that we had been discussing for a long time. We can't have so many hurdles to an already strained system. I think we must find alternative ways of verifying IDs. I think that we should decentralize to an extent that it must be door-to-door vaccination. We can't have people crowding in spaces, particularly indoor spaces, because they will get the virus instead of getting the vaccine. So it may actually be counterproductive to have large crowds. Right now, you can see panic vaccination happening in parts of the country. People are just crowding around these vaccination centers. So all of these must be taken into context, and a change in strategy is needed. I advocate door-to-door vaccination in the smallest clinics, because we know that vaccines are not dangerous. See, these vaccines are not killing people. The chance of getting a serious allergy is about 1 in about 2.5 lakh to maybe 1 in 5 lakh. It is so rare that if such an event occurs, there must be a backup plan for transferring that patient to a nearest health facility. But that doesn't mean that every vaccine must be given to it through a very large health facility. My point is, let's decentralize it, give it freely to the public, and make it reach the most remote parts of our country as easily as it reaches the most urbanized parts, rich and poor alike.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv. Now, my last question goes to Dr. Indu. Dr. Indu, what suggestion you want to give to the government and what advice you want to give to the public? Because see, the people are still feeling like Dr. Rajiv just mentioned about the crowding of the vaccination center. Don't you think they will become the super spreader? If they, yesterday I was seeing on the TV that in some Bihar at one place, people were there and the person who was registering was also not wearing the mask. And this COVID thing, if they would have dispensed of and put that you bring the Aadhaar card or your passport, something like that, and take the get your registered immediately instead of getting it registered and doing all those things. But as a doctor, as a you are dealing with so many things, you know about the virus very much. Until unless we will not be ahead of the virus will defeat it again, and again the new mutant will come. Somebody says Telangana mutant is coming and whatnot, Andhra mutant. Now, how we will be able to defeat the virus, Dr. Indu?
First of all, I suggest that all the media send across positive messages, what to do. For example, when you ask me, I could say, please wear a mask. So that kind of what to do, whereas what should they do when they are at home? They need not rush in for, a hospital. Majority can stay at home. So those ideas, vaccines are safe. So that's one point. Second, to everyone, it is safe to take vaccines. Vaccines are going to save us. But at the same time, it's very unwise to go and crowd in a vaccination center to receive the vaccine. I think every government will come out with their announcements on where to go, what to do, and all. So listen to that, and then in a systematic way, approach your nearest vaccination center and get the vaccine. Please don't crowd, because as you rightly said, that can be, centers can be super spreading events. So kindly avoid that. Please don't get panicked to get the vaccine. It's important that we get vaccinated, but please don't get panicked for that. Please don't be scared to have the gap. It's okay to have the gap, but protect yourself by wearing the mask before the second dose. You become protected only 2 weeks after your second dose. So take care of that after that also. So, but at the same time, take all the precautions. At the same time, vaccine availability continues to be a major hurdle. Let's hope, we really hope that government takes action, including, if at all, patent issues, encouraging other companies to produce more vaccines. Equity, a real issue. People have, it has to be made available to everyone. So, in spite of their ability to pay, in spite of their IT literacy, so such whatever is required, regional, in terms of, for example, Akshaya centers, help people to register in COVID portals in Kerala. So in several states, such hand holding will be required. If at all policy changes are required in the way we distribute vaccines, let's take them, right, as and when, based on data, based on evidence, based on scientific, research evidence from elsewhere. Let's hold hands and move forward. That is the way ahead. Let's not fight among ourselves. Let's be positive.
Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Indu. One has to be very positive. I will just see if Dr. John, are you there? If you're there, please switch on your video. If you are there, yeah, please, if you want to say something for 1 minute, because we know that you are in the operation theater working. Please, if you want.
Sometimes, as a frontline doctor, I have to be in the office seeing lots of patients here.
Okay.
And actually, I was watching everything, and this is very, very informative talk. All the three faculties were super. They were all speaking in a simplest way. And I am sure this will enlighten the public, the present situation. And also, I want to congratulate Mr. Goel also for choosing this particular subject, because This is the actually the people are wandering around the COVID centers and all, and we have to take all the precautions. One thing I want to say is, even though this is the thing, the, even if you are taking the vaccine, you have to take all the other precautions. And if you are staying inside the house, there won't be a problem that it will come again infected. So the best vaccination, social vaccination, is distance, using the proper mask, and washing the hands. So then definitely, so even if you have not taken the vaccine, you do not need panic at all. You can wait for some more time. Our country, I think in 1 or 2 months, we will get, everyone will get the vaccine. With this said, once again, I want to thank you, Goel, for doing a wonderful job here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. John Panika, for giving your
Actually, this is
views.
the way we all are working. This is the gadgets we are using here with the 2 masks, even an N95 and a surgical mask. This is the way ENT. I am basically ENT surgeon. So we are all seeing throat patients and nasal problems and all. So
Yes.
every ENT surgeons are in this doing all the work.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. John. Today you have seen that the vaccination is the ultimate. We have to take the vaccination. Till the time vaccination is not coming, please keep social distancing, wear mask, as our Dr. Indu has mentioned, even possible, wear 2 masks even inside the home. But please be patient. Don't be panic. Vaccines will come. They are coming. Be positive and cooperate with the government, cooperate with the doctors, cooperate with the medical body. And one word for the advice to the government bodies, please take in confidence the medical experts. After all, they are fighting for us. They are losing their lives. They are working day and night. They will give you, guide you more. They can give you more expert opinions, not from the WhatsApp university. And that advice is also for the public. Please don't rely on the WhatsApp university. Please talk to a doctor, take correct advice, and please be safe at home. Thank you very much for watching today's show. Today's show has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, News Gaon se Samvad Saroka News, as well as shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic, and not only day, now we are doing twice. Today evening, it's because today evening we have started from 2 days back. It is in Hindi. That is Kal Aaj Aur Kal, Lal Goel ke Sang. And today our chief guest is Professor Dr. P. Subramania, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University, Mangaluru. So I will be discussing. That will be at 4:30 p.m. So please watch, keep watching our show. Today evening at 4:30 and morning 10:30. Thank you very much, Dr. P.S. Sindhu. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Zevan. Thank you very much, Dr. John Panikar. And thank you very much, Dr. Rajan Sharma, for giving your very, very valuable views. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. I'm sure today you got the real reply from the experts, not from XYZ. It's a real thing. Please follow, be safe. We want that our country should develop. Again, we will come out. We will definitely come out with, while if we will keep our words, we will keep that social distancing and get ourselves vaccinated. Thank you very much. Thank you all.